speaking of getting on the gas.
That is too funny, man.
Somebody, no.
How you going to be a foreigner in your own house, bro?
Oh, every time. What do you mean?
What do you mean? Jonas crosses the border when he goes to his house.
That's what I'm saying. How you that guy in your own crib, man? Like, they can ice you out whenever they want to. They start hitting that different language on you. Like, what are you saying?
That's why I just
they throw Jonas
so
back across the border.
Yeah, I just walk outside. I go, I don't need to be here for this. I don't need to feel insecure about myself. I mean, why do you think I still keep the truck? You know, like, hey, what about this? Does this qualify?
Relatable.
Yeah.
Underlay.
So the deal is done in the NFL, by the way. Caleb Williams, and you guys were really stressed about this, and I don't know why. I was trying to tell you it's going to get done, and you guys were all panicked.
Love when you project like this.
So 4 years, $39 million, $25.5 million signing bonus. It's fully guaranteed, and the fifth-year option is on the back end there of the contract as well, too. Obviously, him being a first-round pick.
Won't be on the first year, would it?
No. So here's the other portion of that. What's wrong with you? All right.
I don't know. I just love when you do this. You're like, all right, let's set it up.
Don't take it out on me. I didn't do anything
first
wrong
off,
here.
I was reading the notes. Bears declined Williams' request to waive the fifth-year option. He was trying to waive a franchise tag clause. That was the first issue that people thought was a little outside the box, which it's really not. The fifth-year option was always going to be part of the contract. That's standard. The franchise tag is something that even the NFLPA is trying to get the NFL to remove so players can get to free agency faster. And they feel like that way they can sign bigger contracts. So that was one of the things Caleb Williams tried to put in this contract, which clearly the Bears declined. The other two things that I actually find fascinating, and I've always said this about Caleb Williams, no matter how people feel about him, his antics or how he is on the field, whatever, he is trying to push the envelope from a business standpoint. And I think LaVar will appreciate this too. So he wanted to be paid as an LLC. And the reason why he wanted to be paid as an LLC in Chicago is the fact that he wouldn't get taxed. There's a zero state income tax in in Illinois for LLCs. And so that's why it took a little bit longer because they were trying to get clarification on whether or not if he could do that, which doesn't ever happen.
Why can't he do it? It's a brilliant approach.
It is. It was denied by the league, and I think based on the definition of what would be considered an employee or a W-2 employee, not to get into the weeds too much here, he'd be defined just like every other player in the NFL has been forever. So there's kind of a precedent set. So I think he'd have a hard time proving how he could be subcontracted. But look, it never hurts to ask, right? Like, why not? This is one of the only chances you have in negotiating a contract. So it never hurts to ask the question to see if it's possible to do it. So,
that's so dope.
He was trying to save on some money in that regard. And then he actually tried to do it as a loan where he wasn't going to have to pay any interest on it and obviously taxes on it for like 10 years. So that was another very unique approach to how he was trying to do it.
That's his daddy.
Either way, like I said, I have no issue with why it took so long because he didn't miss any time. And they got it done, and he's going to be the guy. So it is what it is. He gets a fully guaranteed 4-year deal with the fully guaranteed fifth-year option should they exercise it. To be honest, I think he'll be good enough in the next 3 years where they'll redo his contract, and he's not going to have to worry about his fourth or fifth year. So that's where it's headed for Bears fans. And it's going to be fun to watch and see how this season goes.
Because his dad is in commercial real estate, right? So
his dad is
business transactions.
he's a business dude.
Yeah.
So that's
and he doesn't have an agent, so his dad was essentially representing him and letting him handle the negotiations. So they worked with the NFLPA. They tried to see what could be done that's different than what's been done in the past. And for people out there like, I don't like this, he seems a little odd. That's how you move the ball forward, though. For players and future prospects, that's how you continue to keep moving to get contracts that fit more of what the players are looking for. Like, someone has to go out there and do it. It's no different than in the last CBA. Whose name was on the lockout? It was Tom Brady. It was Brady versus the NFL. So there has to be someone who ends up being, I don't want to say the sacrificial lamb, but for lack of a better term, someone has to be the one to do things that seem out of the ordinary in order to be able to make progress sometimes. And Caleb Williams isn't afraid to do that. So I respect that.
I think that's dope.
If they got, and you had this in your notes, if they agreed to get rid of the franchise tag, is that enough to push the 18-game proposal in players' mind? Is that enough of an issue to where they're like, okay, we'll do another game?
I mean, don't ask me, because I think for an 18th game, because that will eventually lead to 20 games. Once you open up the door for that, you get to another round number in 18. I think you get to 20, and they get rid of all preseason. I would say no, because I would ask for the world if I'm an NFL player. I'd ask for lifetime health care. I'd say get rid of the franchise tags, which you could make the argument, too. The franchise tags, the reason why they work for owners is because it saves them from potentially investing millions of dollars in a signing bonus that leave their pocket right away and instead end up being a base salary that is fully guaranteed for that one-year deal that kind of kicks the can down the road. And there's instances of players who play under the franchise tag or they play under 2 franchise tags, and maybe they hit free agency, but they end up being paid by someone else. Or maybe it doesn't work out, and they're not getting paid quite as much as you thought they would in a bigger long-term deal. So the original tag designation was to save quarterbacks from leaving your team and being able to get to free agency sooner to be able to up that number. Well, now it's been applied to so many other players. I think the NFLPA would like to see it go away. Maybe there's some owners who feel like they'd like to see it go away too. But I do think it's been a vehicle that's allowed for owners to save money, at least in the short term. Even though it does kick the can down the road and some owners have proven that they've got to pay up, I still think that they probably wouldn't mind getting rid of it either, just to, I guess appease the players union. Because, I mean, think about how many players get franchise tagged a year? 18?
That's not very
20?
many.
I mean, let's say 32. Let's say, you get one franchise designation per year per player. So let's say all 32 teams use it. You're talking about 32 of like 2,000 players. If you're creating policy for a collective bargaining agreement, do you think that they're looking at it, they're like, we'll go ahead and get rid of that. We're going to get that 18th game, by the way, because it's going to line our pockets more. And by the way, we're going to put in a clause where the next time we do a jump, it goes from 18 to 20. So you guys need to be good with that as well if we're going to get rid of this franchise tag. Because, I mean, think about that. Like, they're negotiating on behalf of 32 teams. You're negotiating on behalf of like 2,000 players that are currently playing and then thousands of players that have previously played. So it's a hard negotiation to win.
That goes back to the conversation of pushing the ball forward, because if you think about it, free agency didn't even exist at one point. Think about you were getting drafted to a team and you were stuck on that team. That's why there were super teams. Talking about going back to another part of the conversation earlier on, the Steelers. They were able to build what they built and had a dynasty because there was no free agency. Right. So then you create free agency, and a player has the opportunity to now choose what market they may want to go to based off of if another team wants your services. And that changed the dynamic of how business was done in the National Football League. So they had to come up with, the owners had to come up with something that actually kind of protected their interest at some point where they could say, okay, I don't want to pay that much money if I don't have to. So let's create a provision or something that says allow you to test what your value is. And if your value is greater somewhere else and we don't want to match it, we get the first right of refusal, then go. But if we can't, or if we want to match it, we're going to match it. And if we need a little bit more time to do it, let's just say we'll take the averages of the highest paid and the lowest paid, and that's what it's going to be until we figure it out. So it's ultimately been a development business-wise for the owners to be able to see how much it is they're going to have to pay for one of these players that ends up building a value to the team that they're playing for. So it's definitely a constant evolution of how things are being done business-wise by both the institution of the NFL and as well as the player themselves.